If you aren't able to tell your story, you're going to be challenged to get that internship and get that job. And the more confident you are in knowing yourself, the more you can convince someone else that they should pick you.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of the Courage Corner, where I, Luka am once again joined by Marcy Bullock. Hi.
Hi, Luka.
Now today we're going to be talking about core career skills. Now, what are core career skills, and could you give a few examples of what they might be?
Yes, core career skills are everyday habits, attitudes, and abilities that help you thrive in any job, not just to do the work, but connect to the people, solve the problems, and keep learning. I think of them as the bridge between what you study and how you succeed in the working world. You might think about it as a toolkit that you would have, which would be skills that help you show up, adapt, communicate, and make an impact no matter what field you go into. So they're not just soft skills, they're what we now call new century skills, things like communication, adaptability, and teamwork. And they're just as important as your engineering technical skills.
Now, Marcy, I'm going to get a little personal with you here. What are some core career skills that are your strengths?
So I think it is a good question to ask because most people do struggle with that question because we tend to be our worst critics. And when I asked a set of career counselors their top skills, they all started kind of fumbling over their words and ran out of things to say in the first 10 seconds. I would say I have a cheat sheet here, so I'm going to be a little bit better at that than my colleagues were, but I think communication, creativity, and innovation are my top 3 core career skills.
Why focus on core career skills when there are so many different things as a graduate student that you have to focus on, from classes to research?
I think because if you aren't able to tell your story, you're going to be challenged to get that internship and get that job. And the more confident you are in knowing yourself, the more you can convince someone else that they should pick you.
And how do I figure out which core career skills are the best for me to focus on?
Well, I would use your handy dandy friend, artificial intelligence, and I would literally type in the kind of job that you want to have and what you are studying and ask for the top 10 most in-demand core career skills. I've also designed a tool that we will link to this podcast. It is a document that has the top 50 core career skills that would help someone to read them over and kind of rate themselves and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, if I was perfect at this, I'd give myself a 10. And if I've never been exposed to it, I would give myself a 1 because I've read it. Then you have a chance to make a plan for yourself to develop the skills that are maybe in your top 10 list, because I'm giving you 50 and you're not expected to have all of those by the time you graduate.
I like how you mentioned developing your core skills. Well, maybe some that you're better at and want to refine, or maybe some that aren't as good but you realize are important and you want to get better at. But what does that process look like? How do you actually build those skills?
Well, a lot of ways that you can do the skill building is by taking initiative while you are a student to do new projects, to volunteer in meetings, to take on whatever team someone is forming. We need somebody to plan the celebration for the end of the year. Well, maybe planning and organizing is something you know you need to learn, so you would raise your hand there. And taking classes, of course, because there'll be chances for you to take classes here as a student that would help you develop those skills. And I always like to remind people that LinkedIn Learning has hundreds, if not thousands of classes. So for example, you and I were talking about video editing, and I think you found a few ways that you could learn some secrets to how to edit videos based on taking a LinkedIn Learning class. And NC State has paid for your membership to that, and most people have to pay for those classes. So it's a nice little perk.
Yeah, there are always so many more resources at State than you can imagine. I remember a couple of semesters ago, I had a workshop in thriving in interdisciplinary studies. And that was something that I was lacking in personally, because as an engineer, it can be hard to communicate with non-engineers. And part of that is communication, part of that is working in a team. But that workshop helped me develop those kinds of skills, to be able to work in those teams with many different disciplines in them, to be able to do greater projects.
And that's such a good example. Thank you for sharing it because a lot of people who maybe saw that flyer or got that email said, "Oh, I don't have time to do that. Like, I'm not going to take that effort. I'm just going to study for my classes." But that was so valuable to you. And NC State is huge. There's so much going on here. Maybe you would join a club or an organization where you'd also learn some of these new century skills or core career skills because you might decide to be the president of the organization. There you're learning leadership.
Yeah, and there are so many different ways of developing these skills. But let's say once I have developed my skills, my core career skills, and I've identified which core career skills are the best for me, how do I bring these up in a professional setting? How do I apply my skills?
In a professional setting, I would talk with your supervisor about what the expectations are, and I would even give them the list of the skills that you are hoping to develop and see if there are opportunities for you to test the waters out in those areas. And in your performance reviews, which is another one of our episodes, that might be a chance for you to share in the next 6 months, I'm hoping to develop the skill of adaptability. Boss, do you have any ideas on how I might be able to try that out in this role?
So it sounds like there are three different really types of those core career skills. There are the ones that you're good at, there's the ones that you aren't so good at, and there are the ones that you're trying to build and get better at. Would you agree that all three of these you can work on and apply in a professional setting?
Absolutely. And I would say with the tool that we're linking up here, go ahead and look at those top 50 and give yourself your own internal rating because you know yourself pretty well. And after you've done that, then talk to your mentors about it and say, look, I've identified these skills and I'd like to pick out some resources that you would recommend for me to further expand them. And then celebrate them, notice areas for growth, and keep building.
But let's turn the tables here. Let's say you're the leader or the mentor, and somebody comes up to you with their core career skills, some that they're good at, some not so good, and some that they're trying to work on. What do you do with that information?
I think if you are the leader, which all of you wonderful listeners will be leaders one day, then you take that and run with it and you show appreciation for your subordinate being willing to be vulnerable about growth areas that they have. And at that point in your career, you'll likely have some expertise where you can make suggestions to them about steps they can take to test the waters and try to improve that skill.
Well, thank you, Marcy, for joining us to discuss some core career skills. Is there anything else you'd like us to know about them?
I would say don't be afraid to toot your own horn about it because a lot of times we are taught to be humble and we don't want to go out there bragging like I am so great at coordinating events or analyzing problems. I am really expressive, whatever the skills are that you've identified. But look for opportunities to share them in a way where other people can continue to lift you up.